Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey.
Today, we're headed to a tiny country you might not have heard of.
Maybe.
We're going to Andorra,
Wow.
and we're going to explore Canillo TV.
Canillo TV.
It's this school television project that's kind of making waves,
Wow.
way beyond the classroom. Okay, so get this. A tiny school, like way up in the Andorran mountains, running their own TV station.
Wow.
Yeah, and not just any station, but one that's grabbed national attention. They even tackled that whole digital divide thing during the pandemic head on. It's Canillo TV. That's what we're going to deep dive today.
I'm in.
And we've got it all. Project proposals, messages from families, those internal reports, award submissions, like a whole treasure chest of stuff. It really paints the picture.
Incredible.
Yeah. So it started as this small after-school workshop right back in 2016 at the Escola Andorrana de Canillo.
Okay.
And the people behind it, Philip Gallardo, he had this whole TV studio vision.
Right.
Antonia Darnez, the head of studies then, saw tech and education, saw the potential there.
Yeah.
And Santi Casas, he brought all the audiovisual know-how. It's wild how all their different backgrounds just kind of clicked for this, you know?
Like, it's the perfect recipe. You got the driving force, the solid educational base, and then that technical side, all with this shared passion for, well, empowering students. And that mix was key to Canillo TV's early success. Like, those first 3 years, it was buzzing. Students were covering press conferences, doing interviews, creating shows, broadcasting events.
Wow.
It became a part of school life, like totally woven in.
Yeah.
And then, boom, March 2020, everything shifts, you know?
Yeah, and they actually turned this whole potential setback into like a defining moment for Canillo TV.
Amazing.
Schools close, everyone's feeling isolated, and this little station, it becomes a lifeline. They're using Zoom, Meet, all of that to connect with everyone.
It's brilliant.
And their very first program during lockdown.
1,000 views.
Way.
Talk about exceeding expectations. So they launched this whole series, hashtag Canillo se queda casa, like Canillo stays home, right?
Right.
And they even showed off student work, gave families this peek into how their youngest kids were dealing with the pandemic. I love that. Can you imagine families gathering around, watching these videos made by their little ones about, I don't know, all the emotions they're going through? It's not just entertainment. It's this way for the school to stay connected when they couldn't be there in person.
Absolutely.
Provides this sense of, well, normalcy, when everything felt anything but normal. I think that's what resonated with the community. And then they started these special episodes that, well, went beyond the school, grabbed national attention even, like that interview with Andorra's Minister of Health, Mr. Martinez Benezet.
That was a bold move, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Letting kids ask the tough questions in the middle of all that uncertainty.
Yeah.
But his willingness to engage on a platform created by students, no less, that was remarkable.
Yeah.
It became this nationwide event, like all the big media outlets in Andorra covered it, showed the power of giving young people a voice, especially in a crisis.
Yeah.
Showed the trust the community already had in Canillo TV, too. This wasn't just a school project anymore. It was this platform for real dialogue.
Right. Or information.
Another one that stood out, Sant Jordi Confinat. Now, Sant Jordi, it's this huge celebration of literature in Catalonia. Traditionally, you have book signings, gatherings, the whole thing.
I see.
And Canillo TV. They brought that spirit online during lockdown. Over 1,200 viewers tuned in. They even had Roberto Santiago. He wrote Els Futbolissimos. And Jaume Copons, he created Agucias Monstres. Big names answering questions from young readers. Oh, and they pledged to donate €1 for every view and ended up giving €1,200 to the government's COVID-19 fund.
That's great.
Yeah.
They weren't just copying events, they were reimagining them. Adding in all this interaction, this social impact, it's about more than keeping traditions alive.
Yeah.
Shows a deep understanding of what their audience needed, that commitment to their community, and that willingness to innovate. Well, that was crucial as the pandemic kept going, especially as they entered that next phase when schools reopened with all those restrictions. Schools reopened, but it wasn't back to normal. Not really.
No, not at all.
All those bubble restrictions, right?
Yeah.
So Canillo TV had to, well, adapt again. New ways to keep that school spirit going.
It's like a whole other set of challenges.
Right.
How did they even manage that?
So that's where we see hashtag Canillo moves emerge. Like, they shifted focus. It wasn't just connecting people who were isolated anymore.
Yeah.
It was about getting over the hurdles of, well, a school life where everyone's distanced.
I'd say.
Fewer traditional programs, that's true. But they jumped into live streaming, bringing those school events online.
Oh, wow.
Halloween with the sixth graders, Christmas stuff, even the press conference for their fifth theater showcase, all brought to life thanks to Canillo TV.
So even though everyone was apart, they could still share those experiences, keep that sense of community going. It's that commitment to, well, to adapting and innovating.
Yeah, exactly.
But, okay, maybe the most impressive thing to come out of this whole period was hashtag Portatil Solidari.
Yeah, that one's amazing.
That one really got to me.
It shows how they saw a problem, a need, and just took action. Like the pandemic, it really exposed that digital divide in Andorra.
Yeah.
Lots of students, they didn't have devices for online learning.
Right.
And that gap, that social gap, it was getting wider.
So how did Canillo TV get involved? It seems like a big task for a school project.
It was a big task. It all started with Santi Casas. He'd actually done some work before, repurposing old computers, using Google's cloud-based system.
Okay.
And he had this idea, this light bulb moment. What if they gave free refurbished laptops to students?
Wow.
And Canillo TV became the force behind it, this whole ambitious endeavor.
They basically transformed it to a tech support team, didn't they? Like getting those old laptops, installing software, making sure they were ready for the students. That's a huge learning curve.
Absolutely. Hands-on learning, big time. They were learning about tech, sure, but problem-solving, teamwork. And maybe the biggest thing, empathy. They saw firsthand how the digital divide was affecting people, and they worked to fix it. And it didn't stop at the school. It went viral, the whole campaign.
Yeah.
Other schools got involved, businesses like that Gran Valera ski resort, even the University of Andorra.
It became this whole community effort, everyone working toward the same goal.
Over 100 laptops collected so far, 50 already given out to families across Andorra. They saved those families an estimated 25,000 euros. Think about that.
It's incredible.
And it's about more than just access to technology, though.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of empowerment, that community support. It's so valuable, especially during a crisis. But Canillo TV, there's more to the story than just these events,
Yeah.
It's the whole philosophy behind it, their approach to education. We need to look at a course they developed. They based it on all their experiences with Canillo TV.
Okay, yeah, this is getting interesting.
It's called Introduction to Audiovisual Production, and it lays out how they see education.
Okay.
Very hands-on, experiential. They even mention John Dewey, that learn by doing thing.
Right.
But it's more than making videos. They've got these 10 pedagogical principles, you could call them, woven into everything Canillo TV does. And they give you a real insight into why this project has been such a success.
So it wasn't just about teaching technical skills.
Right.
It was about creating a certain mindset, a way of approaching problems, learning. Like, what are some of those principles?
Well, first one, learning for life. They want to give students skills that will be useful, beyond the classroom.
Yeah.
Problem solving, being adaptable, critical thinking, even empathy. Canillo TV was like a real-world test for those skills.
They weren't just learning the theory, they were using it, solving real problems, seeing how their decisions actually made an impact.
Yeah. Powerful way to learn.
What else is there?
Student protagonist. Put students at the heart of it all. You see that everywhere in Canillo TV. They chose what to cover. They took ownership of projects like hashtag Portatil Solidari. They weren't just sitting there taking in information.
No, they were creating, making a difference.
Exactly.
That's so important these days, that feeling of agency.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing stuff, it's about using it,
Right.
creating, making things happen. Okay, so what other principles were important?
Learning beyond the classroom. That's a big one. Canillo TV, it blew apart those traditional limits of education.
Yeah.
Students were connecting with their community, national figures, global stuff. They were really engaging with the world around them.
It's amazing how they turned this time of crisis, when everyone was physically apart, into a chance to broaden their horizons.
They had to connect in new ways.
So what else can we learn from their approach?
Collaborative learning was another big one. They really stressed that. Canillo TV, it was all about teamwork, coming up with ideas, figuring out the tech side of things. It wasn't just, about what one person could do.
Yeah. It was the team.
Yeah. Working together, using everyone's strengths, and then, creating something bigger as a group.
And it went beyond the students, right?
Totally. Families got involved, businesses, other schools, especially with hashtag Portatil Solidari. It was the whole community. Learning can be this shared thing, Doesn't have to be confined to the classroom.
Absolutely.
Shows how good they were at creating that shared sense of purpose, getting everyone inspired. Now, another principle, this one really stuck with me, learning to learn. It's all about developing those metacognitive skills, like reflecting on how you learn, what you're good at, what you struggle with, always looking for ways to get better.
Canillo TV, that must have been the perfect place for that.
Oh, for sure. New challenges all the time. Experimenting, adapting, figuring things out. It wasn't about being perfect right from the start.
Yeah.
It was about the process, you
Right.
know, learning as you go. It was okay to make mistakes as long as you learned from them. And then there's emotional learning, especially with the pandemic and all. They understood how important it was to develop, well, emotional intelligence, understanding your own feelings, managing them, being able to see things from other people's perspectives.
It was a platform for being vulnerable, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Students could share what they were going through, how they felt. It wasn't about keeping them busy. It was about their well-being,
Yeah.
creating that community feeling. And those social emotional skills, they're crucial.
Absolutely. Leads us to creative learning, too. Canillo TV, it was a breeding ground for creativity. Students were encouraged to think differently, experiment with how they told stories, find their own voices. You see it in the content, for sure,
Yeah.
but also how they adapted to the challenges.
They were turning problem solving into like an art form,
Yeah.
constantly innovating, finding those creative solutions, using Zoom as a production tool, launching that laptop campaign. Incredible.
Okay, now inclusive education. This is about making sure everyone has the same chances to learn to succeed, no matter their background. Canillo TV, well, it embodies this in so many ways, especially when they focused on bridging that digital divide.
Hashtag Portatil Solidari. That's a perfect example.
Mm.
Addressing digital equity head on, making sure all those students could get the tech they needed.
And everyone's contributions were valued. It wasn't just about giving them access. It was about creating a learning environment where everyone belonged.
And the vision of those three teachers, Philip, Antonia, and Santi.
Yeah, they saw the power of
Uh-huh.
media to empower students and
Yeah.
to connect their community,
Right.
even before, the world changed so dramatically.
Yeah. And they weren't afraid to adapt.
Yeah, they were
They were willing to innovate.
hmm
And ultimately, they created something that really exceeded, I think,
Yeah.
their initial expectations.
Totally. And I think, Canillo TV, their commitment to media literacy,
Right.
it raises this really important question that I think we all need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
How do we equip ourselves and our communities
Yeah.
with the critical thinking skills that we need
Mm.
to navigate this world of media and information, which
Yeah.
is just getting,
Right. It's more and more next.
more and more complex, more and more challenging.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Canillo TV, that's really the question
Yeah.
we want to leave you with.
What steps can you take? What can you do
Yeah.
to be a more discerning consumer of media? What can you do to help create a more informed, a more equitable digital landscape?
Yeah. That's the challenge.
Maybe you can, start a project in your community. Maybe you can mentor someone in media skills, or maybe you can just start by being more aware, more conscious of the information that you're consuming
Right.
and sharing.
Exactly, because Canillo TV's story shows us that even small actions, when they're driven by passion
Yeah.
and a real sense of purpose, can have a ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can create these waves of positive change
Yeah.
that go way beyond our immediate circles.
Totally.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Great advice.
Until next time.